everyone. This is Megan.
And this is Steven.
And this is the Synchrony Podcast, where we talk about transforming apostolic dating culture and ending loneliness in the church.
One cup of coffee at a time.
One cup of coffee at a time. Thank the Lord. I'm dragging tonight.
Thank you for Cafe 17. Oh.
Wah, wah.
We miss you guys.
We do. Go back and watch our early episodes if you don't know what that inside joke was about.
They were a former sponsor, but
Now it's not an inside joke anymore. I was so much more energetic, and then I went to put our son down and drifted off in his bed for 20 minutes.
yeah. I used to look at my phone more while I was putting him down to keep myself awake so that wouldn't happen. But lately he's been like, "Daddy, phone light too bright. Please turn it off." I'm like, okay, well, that's very responsible of him.
Sure.
He's not watching it. And then now I'm like,
it's good for his sleep hygiene, but man, I am just absolutely destroyed after that. So we'll hope that this is coherent later. But yeah, we're picking up on part 2 of a 2-part episode.
Yep. Talking about how our matchmaking process works.
Yeah. And last time, if you haven't watched last week's episode, might be a good moment to go do that. Because that covered a lot of the data gathering that we do. What?
Sorry. I just had stuff you should know because how stuff works.
Yeah. I don't think we can sing their jingle on our podcast.
Well, I can guarantee you we're not getting monetized right now, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so we did the first part of the episode, or the first episode, the first half of this 2-part episode, goodness gracious, was about how we gather the data to, understand what people need. And one thing that I never went back and said out loud when we were talking about that was, in that data gathering process, we spend a lot of time talking about values. I don't do an explicit values finding exercise or...
Yeah, it's not like a Enneagram personality test to find your values.
People have asked about that, why we don't do personality tests as part of what we do.
Well, we'll cover that later in the episode.
Okay. So we're going to talk about sort of how we take the data that has been gathered throughout this process and actually use it to identify matches and what that matching process looks like for anyone who hasn't been through it before.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah, sounds fantastic.
Before we do that, we had an exciting thing happen this week. Do you remember what it was?
Yes, I do.
What do you remember?
All the babies.
Just one baby.
All the baby. We had one of our synchrony couples that we matched together who got married are now pregnant. And we are very excited for them.
Yeah, it was really special.
It's our first synchrony baby.
Our first synchrony baby.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, not going to lie. In a good way. It's just I knew this day would come, but in my mind I was like, that's a ways away, right?
Yeah, it was really exciting. They're a really special couple, and they've created this beautiful family together.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting that they're now bringing a baby into that family. But yeah, it was surreal to see that pop up on social media and realize oh man, that's a life that exists because these people met, over this process, right? They got matched, and I'm not taking credit for them falling in love or building a life together by any stretch, because they had to do a lot of work.
It'd be hard to take credit for it.
Yeah. They had to do a lot of work to negotiate their relationship and figure things out. And so I'm not saying it was a straightforward thing for them. It's just so cool to think that that is a life, a person that's going to be, part of the church, going to be part of the world that wouldn't have existed otherwise.
I'm gonna go against you and say we should take at least some credit for it.
I take credit for the meeting.
Yeah, that baby would not be there between this couple if it wasn't for mostly you matching them. Sure.
I'm grateful to have been part of that process. Let's put it that way. But yeah, it's really exciting. So congratulations to that sweet couple. I'm not going to say names because I don't, I don't want to.
They're no longer our clients.
That, and it's just like, like it's their family, and I want them to have that news spread in whatever way they want.
Yeah,
But it is really exciting. So thank you for sharing that online so that we could see it and so that I had a reason to cry about it in a good way.
that's right.
Okay. Um, I do want to talk a minute about the values data gathering process. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Let's do it.
All right. So why we don't do some sort of personality test or like values identification quiz as part of our process, right?
Yep.
Well, like you and I have taken some personality
Yeah.
tests before.
I mean, I think we should start off by saying I think that some of them have value
Mm-hmm.
for helping you learn, use it as a tool to learn a little bit more about yourself. I don't think it
Right.
should be an identifying, like, overall, like, over encompassing, like, that is now your identity.
Well, and not just that, but like, okay, so when I say personality test, you've probably taken one of these. You've probably taken some that were really valid, and by valid I mean like well supported by science, and asked a lot of good questions that would really give you detailed insight into your psychology. And you've probably taken like some BuzzFeed quizzes about like what type of flower are you or whatever, that are not as good of an indicator of what's going on in your mind, right? There's value to personality testing, I think, but I'm not a personality psychologist.
No,
You know?
no, exactly. It was like we talked to Brother Abrego,
Hmm.
and he had a really cool perspective,
Yeah.
and like some people don't have the language of understanding how, like, depending on, again, what personality test you take.
Hmm.
Like some people before the test didn't have the language to like understand some of their behaviors and the way they
Hmm.
do stuff, and now they have a more common language to grasp it, and if it's
Right.
a good attribute then they can reinforce it, and if it's a bad attribute, or I say bad, or like a negative attribute, then they could start working on it.
Sure, but there's this concept too that your personality is static, that it doesn't change. And
Hmm.
Brother Brego was, talked about that. He said, "Hey,
Yeah,
we believe that God renews our mind, right?
yeah,
So we don't want to see ourselves in that kind of static outlook." But also, I think that it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy,
yeah,
right? Like I'm an INFJ Myers-Briggs type,
yeah.
right?
Some
And
people use that as like again their identity.
right. It can become like this is the most unique Myers-Briggs type, and that means that I'm going to be X, Y, and Z, and I'm special in this way, and I deserve X, Y, and Z. And some of that might be true for you, and some of that might not be. But ultimately, I don't feel like there's enough concrete evidence as part of that I need to rely on it for who would be a good match for you.
Yeah.
I also personally, and this is just my outlook, I don't think personality is the defining element of what makes someone compatible.
If that was the case, then Paul's personality would have never changed.
Huh?
Saul, who then became Paul,
What does it have to do with compatibility?
he murdered Christians on on a regular basis. I'm saying it got.
Yeah, but he never married, so I'm confused about how we got
No,
to
I
that.
know, but if personality and identity or personality is stagnant, and it's one way, like his personality and his identity, right, was in his mind concrete to who he was in his endeavors, right? But then the Lord helped shaped him into someone new.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I've seen some people use personality tests as an excuse to stay the same
Yeah,
and stay where they are.
right. I think that's true. I think people can get too boxed in by it. My point that I was making though is that
Sorry, the roundabout way.
you went back 2 points ago, and then
Yeah.
we're moving back on. The point that I was making just now was I don't think that personality is what drives who's right for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that we all know people who, their personalities seem like a strange mix, but they work together,
Yeah.
right? Couples who you wouldn't necessarily have expected to like make sense, but they do. So I just don't think that personality and personality as defined by a human created, generated, like psychological evaluation is what should tell you who is and who isn't right for you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So we don't incorporate personality tests. I encourage people to go find a good one, and if you want to reflect more on who you are and your attributes and your characteristics, that's great. But I don't think that should be the thing that unlocks who is compatible with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we don't do that. But values is something we talk about being really important for matching. We have whole episodes about this.
Yep.
Identifying your values, values driven dating. So why have we not built out some kind of like values survey or whatever as part of this?
Well, one, I think it's better when it's a person asking a person a question,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you need context on the question,
Mm-hmm.
right? I feel like a lot of times when you do a personality test, like that you get asked a question, in my mind, I'm like, you're asking me to give an attribute about myself
Mm-hmm.
that if you're in this question you're asking me, I could have 7 different answers depending on the context of it.
Right.
So I feel like with this, you're being interviewed by someone, I think is very different than you having an confirmation bias
Mm-hmm.
of trying to reinforce positive attributes about yourself
Mm-hmm.
and trying to not reinforce negative attributes.
I think that's very true. I also think that when we start talking about like if I started a consultation with someone and said, "I'm going to now ask you questions about your values,"
Yeah.
that creates a level of pressure that I worry would make someone say things that they think I would want to hear
Yeah.
about their beliefs or
Mm-hmm.
about what's important to them. And I'm not interested in the values that you're supposed to have,
Yeah.
right? About marriage or family or social justice or whatever. Like, that doesn't help me understand who would actually be good for you, because the goal of finding a partner for you is giving you a relationship with someone where at the end of the day, when the mask comes off and you have nothing, you're not putting up a front for them, you're not trying to meet expectations, they're a person that you can feel completely yourself with, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to avoid asking things in a way that's going to make someone feel like they need to give me an expected answer.
Yeah.
But I am digging into what their values are through the questions that we ask. So asking things like, how do you want your friend, we talked about this one last week, how do you want your friend to talk about you and your wife, right? That answers the question, how do you as a couple want to show up in your world, in your community,
Yeah.
to people? And that's a really fruitful question to help me understand what someone's values are.
Yeah.
Because they'll talk about things like, sometimes it'll be like, I want them to look at us and say like, ooh, like that's an example of a couple that I want to be, right? We want to be like them. We want to have a marriage like them. We want that to be a thing. And I know that that's one of their values, is that kind of like, that sort of visibility,
Yeah.
right? And being that kind of, I'm trying to frame this in a way that doesn't sound negative, because I don't think this is a bad thing that people say, right? Like saying that I want my marriage to be an example, I want people to look up to us,
Oh yeah.
means that one of their values is having a certain level of social impact
Yeah.
in their community, right? Other people say that I want people to look at us and say that we're the fun couple. We're someone that was going to make you laugh. We're approachable. That's a different value around, generosity, around warmth, around, acceptance, right? Those things are coming through in that question, even though I haven't slapped a label on it that's like, what's your value?
Yeah.
So we're getting to those things and we're kind of sussing it out. And there's usually a point in the consultation where I say, okay, these are the things that I've heard from you that are the most important. And I will go through my notes and out loud kind of synthesize, like, I've heard you say that it's really important to you that someone has a great sense of humor, that someone is at church every time the doors are open, that they're contributing to the church in this way, that they're supporting this, that they're financially stable. We'll kind of start talking about the key things that have come through in what you've mentioned to me. And I'll say, like, does this sound like the type of person you're looking for, and get feedback
Yeah.
in that
I do have
moment.
to say, you have a really good way of doing that.
Thank you.
You have you ask questions that help get to the root of their values,
Mm.
and then you do this thing where you like summarize everything they just said and
Mm-hmm.
said, this is what I heard you say, which for someone who is terrible at summarizing and storytelling, like I'm like, wow, you said it so much better than I could have.
Steve, yeah, the way you tell stories is so fun, because
Yeah,
like,
that was very hard for you to say
it was.
because it's not fun.
It's different. So like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
Like if you and I watch the same movie,
Yeah.
right? Like if we watched like The Passion of the Christ,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Which I've never seen, but I would be like, this is a depiction of the crucifixion story, and its focus is on the impact of the crucifixion. And you would be like, once upon a time, there was a man named Mel Gibson.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
to start with the origin story of the origin
I've had
story.
this problem ever since I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
where I don't know what part is important to tell you, because
Mm-hmm.
to me every part is important.
Yeah.
And so like I see every detail of the story,
Mm-hmm.
and when I'm trying to rehash it with you, I don't know how to like I when I think I'm leaving a detail out,
Mm-hmm.
it like makes me anxious that I'm not going to give you a valid summary.
Right.
So then what happens is I end up retelling the movie play by play instead of doing a summary.
Right.
And my friends used to always make fun of me. Like
At the end,
anytime,
I'm like, I have no need to watch this movie. I
yeah,
have heard the entire plot.
yeah.
Yeah.
As a kid, my friends would say, like, as I was about to start telling a story, it became like kind of a meme
Mm-hmm.
where they're like, "All right, boys, settle down. Steven's about to tell a story."
Your reputation preceded you.
uh,
No, but that's okay. And it's funny because, like, tying it back to what we're talking about, like, there are some people who, when we have these conversations, I'll ask them a really big open ended question and they'll give me the exact core,
yeah,
right? Here's who I am as a person and what's important to me. Boom. Nicely packaged. Other people, I'm going to spend 20 minutes asking around this question to get down to what's important to them. And that's okay. I like that. That's part of the fun of it for me, is helping unpack, well, so I'm hearing this and I'm hearing this and I'm hearing this. Is that true? Right? So anyway, I just wanted to kind of tie up a couple of those loose ends about the data gathering. But that's how we end up with this, effectively this notes document that's got all of my notes about the things that are important, right? And then we actually start the process of starting to look for matches for someone. And we talked about last week how this isn't an algorithm driven thing. It's not like I'm plugging these things into a formula
yeah,
and it's spitting out, here are the available options for them. It's still a very manual process. So I wanted to talk sort of through what that looks like and sort of the ins and outs of it.
yeah. I just want to make sure we circle back to, like you said, it's a very manual process,
Mm-hmm.
almost in a negative connotation. And
Yeah.
I want to say that is the beauty of what we do, of what this is, though. It's not an algorithm. It's
Mm-hmm.
not someone saying, "Oh, you like kayaking, they like kayaking, awesome. They don't mind living in the same area. We should match them up." It's
Yeah.
a lot more than that.
You're right. And I don't mean for it to sound negative. So I work in like software, right? Like I'm always looking for ways to make it more efficient, and I don't mean to make it less personal by doing that. I am motivated to make it faster
Yeah,
because I want to be able to deliver the same quality of matching to more people,
yeah,
you know. And the fact that it is so manual right now means that I can become like, what's the word?
bottleneck.
Bottleneck. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was looking for. So I just want to be conscious of that. But
yeah.
the process right now, I think it needs that level of detail.
I would love to get to the point where you're the bottleneck.
Yeah, I would love
Like
for us to
all
have,
the men start rolling in, and you're the bottleneck. That's a good problem to have.
hey, I'm not going to lie. This week has felt a
This
little bit
week,
like
this
that.
month,
This month has been amazing.
I think we've had like a dozen dudes come in the last month.
It's a lot. Like I have men who I am like, oh my goodness, I have to get back to them about some matching. And
Yeah,
I'll explain why this is significant in a minute. But that's been a change.
yeah,
So at the end, I do want to talk about why that's happening, because I think
yeah. Ladies, buckle up.
yes, they're coming. No, I do think that we've had an
The British
amazing,
are coming. The British. Sorry.
we've had an influx of incredible guys. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited to introduce them to people. So let's just talk about what happens. And the reason why we're starting with the guys is because, and you've heard us talk about this before, we have more women than we have men, right? So the matching process starts with an available man
Yep.
who's come through the consultation process and is ready for a match. Okay. I'm going to have to describe something that would be easier to show than tell. So maybe there's a way that I can like put up a screenshot or something of like a fake dashboard. I don't want to display any client information when I talk about
Sure.
this. So I can't just like show you a screen share of what I do, but I'm going to try to describe the process. So we've got this notes document and the survey. That's where my data is from my research so far with each person. As part of the process, we create a task for each person in a web application called ClickUp.
Yep.
ClickUp is just like a task management tool or a pipeline management tool. It's similar.
I mean, it's not too dissimilar from an Excel sheet, a really fancy Excel sheet.
Yeah.
That you have your columns that have specific categories, and when someone moves from column to column, you're able to move them around depending on where they are in the process.
It's more like a Kanban board. If anyone's familiar with Kanban, it's imagine almost like imagine like a factory with like a conveyor belt, and you have like something on a conveyor belt moving to different stations, and different things are getting added to it. Like, you're building a car
like
and
an
like
assembly line. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like an assembly line where I have this virtual dashboard with columns, and those columns represent stages of our process, right? So there's a column for like people who have booked a consultation with us, and it actually automatically imports that from
booked, but you have not met with them yet.
Right. They've booked, but I haven't actually met with them. Then there's one for, we've had their consultation and they're waiting for a match. And then I have a column for I've selected a match for them. I think this is a person that they might be good for. A column for this pair has agreed to meet each other, because I have to start asking them like, hey, do you want to, get to know this person? And then columns for, okay, they're booking, like we're scheduling their date. I'm writing bios. I'm sharing bios. We're exchanging, we've got the bios exchanged between the two, and then we're waiting outcomes, and then like a post match, right?
Yeah.
So there's like this big sort of virtual whiteboard with all these columns, and each person has a task, which imagine like a little index card, almost virtual index card. And that has their survey attached to it, so I can open that up really quickly and see what's there. Has a few tags that help me be able to filter things like age groupings, state, and a couple of other just sort of key things.
There's like key identifiers to help speed up the process,
right? Because I can filter down to just certain groups of cards, right? So that's the tool I'm using to do this.
Yeah.
So when I have a guy who's available for matching, after his consultation, he'll go into a male available column, right? And right beside that male available column is the female available column. And I will filter that column down to tasks associated with women who are in an appropriate age range for that man.
Like if that man was willing to date someone 5 years older and 5 years younger, we start out with that.
Right. And the filters aren't super granular in ClickUp because of just sort of how it's set up. So I'm working with big chunks of ages, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
if someone is 29, I'm probably looking at everyone from age 21 to 29, even if it's slightly outside of how young they would want to go, and up to 35, or whatever, depending on what range they gave me. So I'm going to filter down my ladies to the right age group, because there's probably going to be quite a number of people compared to this one guy that we're looking for matches with, quite a number of ladies that could fit into that age. So age is the biggest category, the biggest filter that I'll apply.
It's the biggest starting point, at least.
Right.
Yeah.
And that will give me, a subset of people. And then I start literally just scrolling. So imagine I have the guy's task in one column. I'm literally just scrolling through and looking at each lady's task.
And you have the guy's information sheet open.
Yeah.
With that way you're looking at specifications for his
like his criteria,
his preferences.
Yeah. And sometimes I don't even have to have it open, because I'm going to start with a handful of the biggest factors, right? So this might be helpful for people to know, like there are a handful of key drivers that are going to, sometimes I'll say, clear the playing field, right? Like these are going to be the things that are going to take the the number of matches down from anyone in the right age group to the handful of people who are actually feasible for this person, right? So one is whether or not the guy is open to a move.
Yes, that really narrows the playing field.
Right. So if the guy is able to relocate and is willing to potentially relocate for a match, that changes the game, because if not, I have to start looking for women who can move.
Yep.
Right. So that will immediately narrow the pool down a little bit. Other big factors that kind of narrow the pool down are kids.
Yeah, willing to step parent or not willing.
Does he have kids?
Yeah.
Or not? / is he open to step parenting?
Yeah.
So that will be another one. So, if I have a guy who says, hey, I'm not ready to step into parenting right now, I don't have any kids yet, anyone in my ladies column who already has children then is moved out of the prospect pool. Right?
Yeah. And then occasionally we have the person who's like, I don't want to, I'd rather not marry someone who's been previously married, or there's all the different preferences. So that like helps narrow down the pool till we get a subset of people that you can then start going through and looking through the identifying the values.
Right. And often if I don't have a clear person that's jumping out to me of like, ooh, this person's probably the best fit, sometimes there might be 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So then I'm opening up their notes doc side by side, and I'm going through and looking, would this person be okay with this part of this person's history? Is this person going to find this person physically attractive?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so that's a big driver. And again, like one of the reasons why it's manual is that even with that filtering, sometimes I have to check a few different categories of people because there's flexibility, right?
Yeah.
So if I have a guy who says, I would prefer not to step parent, that wouldn't be my first choice.
Yeah.
But if the right person's out there for me and they have a child, I don't want to disqualify them, right? Yeah. Which is a very fair and reasonable answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then I'm filtering it down to women who don't have children, but then I might consider, well, are there women with children that I should take a look at? And so I open the filter back up.
That's the thing, is I think that's the difference between what you're doing and what we're doing, and an algorithm. An algorithm is black or white. It's
line, Boolean, yes or no.
Yeah, line in, line out.
Right.
Whereas people are complicated. Humans are complicated. And on top of that, we're apostolic, to even add more complications to that. So it's like, with the nuance of people, there's got to be nuanced decision making.
Yeah. And there are some factors that I think people think should really be driving who I'm selecting that are less significant to me, at least at first in this process, right? Yeah. One of them is what ministries people are involved in.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. Unless I have someone who is actively already working in missions overseas.
Yeah.
Like they are aiming, and we love working with aimers.
Yeah. Or missionaries.
Right. But like if unless they are already deeply immersed in a foreign missions calling, I'm not really looking at what exactly they're doing in church as a key factor for who's going to be good for them.
As the top contenders for prioritizing.
It doesn't even show up until I start looking through their docs, right? Like, because I think that we limit God so much by being like, oh, well, I feel a call to preach, so I need to be with X, Y, and Z type of person.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think that the Lord can inspire people. I mean, we would have never envisioned this, what we're doing now, as
absolutely not.
Right, like a calling that God would call both of us into, right? We couldn't have scripted this.
No.
By any stretch.
I mean, even the ministries that we were a part of when we were single, we were very different in what we did.
Totally.
And so like if we use ministries as a alignment system for us, we would have never matched.
Right, because God can take people with very diverse talents and interests and find ways to blend those in a really beautiful, unique, combination that we couldn't have come up with ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to make sure that the two people have the same level of dedication to church.
Yeah. And servantry.
Yeah. And just like dependability, right?
Yeah,
I'm not going to match someone who's like at church every time the door is open with someone who, you
Goes to
know,
church once a year.
well, they're not going to be in the
Well, they're not in
pipeline
the
anyway.
pipeline anyways. Yeah, that's
But
true.
you know what I mean? Someone who's like kind of pew warming,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Who's there but isn't really engaged.
Yeah,
Those two people aren't going to be a great fit for each other. So I'm
absolutely.
paying attention to that, but I'm not paying attention to like, wow, I really, I really wish that I could have someone who was super involved in homeless ministry until I narrow the pool down to that group of people. And then if I see those alignments, that's great, right? Like we've had people before who I was like, oh man, I found this person. I thought they were a great fit. And look, also, wow, they're both involved in outreach ministry and they're both passionate about it. Isn't that great? So I'm looking for those things to line up, but it's not going to drive
Yeah.
as much as people think that it should.
Unless you're actively in a foreign missions field.
Unless it's going to change where you have to live.
Yeah.
Because that's the key thing is that like...
Or like home missions. I can see home missions, like if you're a home missions pastor or something, I can see that being a bigger deal too. But
yeah. So, right. I think that location is a big driver,
yeah.
right? Whether someone is willing to move. And this is something that's really complicated for people because most people, I would say north of 85% of the people that I talk to will say something to the effect of, I would prefer not to leave where I am.
Yeah.
Because most people have a life built where they are.
Yeah, they're comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
Very few people are like, no, I'm ready to go. Like I would love to move somewhere. Some people, I have met some people that say that, but it's rare.
Yeah.
Right. So most of the time people would say by default, I'd like to stay where I am.
Yeah.
But I'd be willing to move if the right person showed up. I'd be open to a move under these circumstances. A lot of times it's like if all the stars aligned and I felt confident that the Lord was opening the right doors, I could move.
Yeah. And that's golden to us.
Yeah, but that's a really complicated thing for me to nuance, right?
Sure. Yeah, but we hear that as like, and correct me if I'm wrong. That leaves an open door for us to give you as many potential matches as possible.
It does, but that's bitten me before.
Oh,
because
really?
yeah, and the reason why is because I've had people that have said something to that effect, and I've basically put them in the category of open to move,
Yeah.
tentatively open to move, right? But when they meet someone whose life would require a move to a different state, even if they match on a lot of other things, that might not be enough. There might not be enough there for them to say, yeah, I could go after this person,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes we don't know how important those things are to people until we start presenting them with matches.
Yeah, that's true.
And the devil's in the details, right? Like we start to see, oh, that thing that you said was that you were open to in your consultation, you're not actually open to.
Yeah.
And that's good.
That's good for us though.
It's great. Yeah. Because I'm continuing to gather data the entire time I'm working with this person.
That's the thing is we get questions all the time saying, hey, how many matches do y'all, how long does it take for y'all to get matches? Like for people that stay together. And honestly, the most simple answer is the more the better in the sense of it helps us narrow down what your core values are, because after each date you're saying, hey, what was good about this? What is something that I could work on, or what could we work on to make this a more comfortable process, but also like what stood out to you during this interaction. And that way we are narrowing down your profile, your wants and desires to help you find someone good for you.
Each interaction that we architect between people is another data point that we can then use to go, okay, and sometimes it leads me to have difficult conversations with people where I'm like, hey, you told me that these are the things that were important to you. When I put that person in front of you, though, this was the thing that was the most important to you. Yeah. So if I find another person again who has X, Y, and Z criteria, but doesn't meet this standard, is that even an option?
Yeah.
And it forces people to make some hard choices and reflect on themselves.
Well, and sometimes it's hard to hear it out loud too. Because a lot of times it's like in your mind, you're like, oh, no one will ever know this. But I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a good thing for you to be able to call out and reflect like, hey, is that really important to me?
So for example, right, I've had people who, like, let's say, again, we can use the example that we talked about last time, right? Where, I'll say, hey, historically this woman has gone after guys who are kind of aloof and brooding and like very conventionally like rough and tough, bad guy masculine kind of. But she says that she wants someone who's a great dad, really compassionate, really gentle, really fun loving.
Yeah.
And so then I'll find the guy who's like outgoing, fun loving, all these things, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that response can be like, I don't know if it's there, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm.
He's not at least 6'3". He doesn't have a 5 o'clock shadow right after he
It's
shaves.
not even about the physical
No,
attractiveness component of
I
it.
know,
It's
but
like it's more just like, oh, he's not what I envisioned.
yeah, sure.
And I think that's a really key point.
That's
Like,
valid.
yeah, but sometimes people's vision that they have in their mind, even after they've described to me what they want, doesn't match what they say is important to them.
Yep.
And when you put a person in front of someone who's a reasonable match for their criteria and it doesn't match their view of what they thought they wanted, it requires some renegotiation.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means they're going to change their preferences or sort of say, oh, okay, I need to shift my focus. And sometimes it means I'm going to change my criteria.
Yeah.
And it's a negotiation every time,
Yeah,
right?
and that's the thing is it's a back and forth. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like a once you have your consultation, that's it. It's
Mm-hmm.
every date we go on, or even if you even after the consultation, a week or so later, you email us and say, "Hey, you know what? I thought about my questions on the survey. We have this all the time. I've
Mm-hmm.
thought about my questions on the survey, and I think I would like to tweak my answer on
Yeah.
this question, or I think that after talking to you and reflecting, I think I would like to adjust this." And I think that's great. And it's really forcing people to really evaluate what's important to them.
Right. Because ultimately, like, I want people to feel empowered to date better, whether or not we are the ones who find them a person.
Absolutely.
If this process helps them better understand what's important to them and enables them to go out and meet someone on their own that's a better fit for their values, then we've done our job. Right?
Yeah, that's the thing is our higher priority is
Mm-hmm.
ending loneliness,
Right.
not we have to be the ones to match them.
Right.
Which, don't get me wrong, we would love to have the opportunity, but if we can, we've had people message us and say, "Hey, we've listened to the podcast. I read your post
Mm-hmm.
or I saw your Instagram, and you really gave me food for thought." And as a result, I've reflected, and now I am now dating someone that I would have probably not dated. You know, it's
Right.
like really cool opportunities of seeing people grow without us directly being the one like touching that life.
Totally. So another thing that I think people expect to be part of this that's important to call out is they're like, at what point do we take a bunch of matches to a guy at one time
Yeah.
and say like, hey, I've got these 5 women,
Yeah.
right?
Take the pick of the litter.
Right. And the answer to that is no, not usually.
Yeah.
Now, there have been times where I have, like, I'm going to throw out sort of arbitrary numbers here, but like, let's say I don't have anyone who's a 100% match for what someone's looking for.
Yeah.
And I have 3 people who are each maybe like 60% matches, but
Yeah.
very different,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes I'll get down to where it's like, man, these are the 3 people that are closest to what this person's looking for, but all of them are very different in terms of what their outlook is, what their personalities are like completely they don't sit in the same part of the Venn diagram.
Yeah.
Right. So I have at some points gone to a male client and said, hey, I have these 2 clients or I have these 3 clients, and I will anonymize it and I'll say lady A is A, B, and C. This old lives here, does this. Lady B is this old, this, whatever. Basically give the same amount of detailed information about each one, and then say, of these 3, which one feels like the closest to what you're looking for based on what you know about them right now.
Yeah.
And I try to keep it very high level. But sometimes I need help understanding who would be the most attractive to them, not physically attractive necessarily, but who they would find the most interesting, or who they're most curious about. Because again, chemistry, the idea of chemistry, we say is feeling seen, safe, and mutually curious, right? If I can get 2 people in the room and they feel comfortable with the other person, they feel like they're interested in who the other person is, and they have that back, then there's already a better chance of them having a valuable interaction. It behooves everyone for me to put them in a room with someone that they're likely to find engaging, right? Sometimes I need help figuring out who the best fit would be.
Yeah.
Most of the time, though, I'm coming back to a guy with 1 match at a time.
Yeah.
Because we don't we don't introduce people to multiple people at the same time. So it's a one at a time thing. I'll say, I have someone who's a match for you. This is how old she is. This is the state in which she lives. Here's a few pieces of information about her. I don't give out names.
Yeah, no private information.
Nope. We try to maintain privacy of each person's data as long as we can.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll throw out like a high level description of things that I know are important to them, right? Yes,
Yeah.
they do or don't have children, or they have or have not been married before. Whatever they've emphasized to me is the key things that they're looking for. I'll try to speak to how closely this person maps to those, right? And then I'll say, is this someone that you could see yourself getting to know? We don't share pictures at this point.
Yeah.
So this is all happening without the other person knowing what this person looks like.
Yeah. Which I know any guy who is listening to this who didn't know that prior probably just clammed up.
Yeah. Say more about that.
I mean, just because I know that the general consensus and guys that have heard say that is a part of the process that makes them most nervous because of the elephant in the room. The like, I'm worried that I'm not going to be attracted to them. And
Yeah.
I want to say what we're trying to do is to get away from Tinder culture. Like, what is like we keep on saying that right now, and apostolic dating is watered down worldly dating.
Yeah. It's like worldly dating light.
Yeah. So we're not actually dating like apostolics. So what, even on any like apps that are algorithm based, right? Like you're mostly looking at your choice of looking at someone's profile and going, oh, this person visually looks attractive to me. Swipe, 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 swipe. That's the first thing you're looking for before you look into their profile more.
Right.
And
It's image first.
Image first. And at the end of the day, like, I understand physical attraction is important, but I don't think that's something that has to be.
I mean, here's what an important thing for me to say to any guys who are listening. We don't ignore your physical attractiveness preferences. In fact, so let's break this down a little bit because this is important.
Yeah.
After I meet with someone in a consultation, I will sometimes talk to them about their overall matchability.
Yeah.
And matchability does not mean attractiveness, and it does not mean dateability. It's not about how great of a partner you would be or how beautiful or attractive you are. It's matchability is what factors about you and your preferences and priorities broaden the pool of people available for you to date.
Yep.
And what criteria do you have that narrow the pool? Because everyone has some things that open up opportunity and some things that are going to restrict who's a good fit for them.
Which, well, like we talked about earlier, one of those examples are being able to move or not being able to move.
Sure, right. That's
is a massive one of opening your opportunities or closing your opportunities.
And it's not good or bad, right?
Yeah.
It's just if you tell me that you can move, that opens up the pool. If you tell me that you can't, it narrows the pool.
Yep.
To people who could live in your zip code, right? And that's a perfectly reasonable thing to open up or narrow the pool on.
Yeah.
But what I found in working with men and working with women is that like what makes a man matchable to more women, the key criteria are different than what makes a woman matchable for more men.
Yeah.
Okay. So things that men are wanting are prioritizing when it comes to matchability for women are body size. And I mean, by that, I mean actual like body size, like body fat.
Yeah.
Right. We have a whole episode talking about that if you want more info on how we feel about it. Conventional attractiveness, which means like how basically how pretty are they, right? Because you can be a certain body size, but not necessarily map to conventional attractiveness.
Yeah.
Like, you know, as we think about it. So body size, conventional attractiveness, fertility, as defined by their relative age.
Yeah.
And you can go
a lot of people would assume fertility potential by age.
So it's not actual fertility. It's how fertile they perceive someone to be based on their age relative to the guy's age.
Yeah.
Go listen to our fertility episode about that.
Man, we're getting a lot of episodes.
And another factor would be something that I would call permissiveness.
Yeah.
which doesn't mean like the level of doormat that a woman is at all.
No.
Permissiveness is what I use to encapsulate how chill is this woman going to be about the lifestyle that guy, this, ex guy is living.
Yeah. Like I want a woman who will allow me to still do the things I want to do.
Yeah. So a woman who is higher in permissiveness is going to be like, I'm fine if he plays video games.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. He doesn't have to make more money than I do, right? It's fine.
Yeah.
I want him to still participate in his hobbies and interests,
Yeah.
like it's cool if he's involved in, I want him to be involved in church and really dedicated, but I don't have any specific ministerial goals that he has to meet, right?
Yeah.
That would be a woman who I would say is highly permissive.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas someone who says, I hate video games and I don't want them in my house. It's important to me that he prioritizes X, Y, and Z thing first. And I need him to align with this one specific ministry goal. None of those things are bad or wrong.
Yeah.
It's just not as permissive, right?
Yeah.
So those are things
That'd be a good podcast episode.
Yeah, I think we should dig more into that. But those are things that are driving whether or not a woman is going to be matchable to a lot of men or just a few.
Yep.
Right. And guys, I want you to hear that when we're talking about body size and conventional attractiveness, I'm asking you some really, really direct questions about that. And I am not going to purposefully put you in a match with a woman who dramatically departs from your view of what attraction is, because I don't want to disappoint that woman.
Yeah.
Right? I'm motivated for her to have a great experience and meet someone who wants to be with her. So if you tell me that you're only open to dating a woman of a certain size or a certain shape,
Yeah.
I will likely not introduce you to a woman outside of that unless I come to you before that and say, hey, I have a person who I think is perfect for what you're looking for, values align perfectly, X, Y, and Z thing, but she's outside of the body size range that you told me you were comfortable with. Are you open to that?
Yeah.
And some guys have said, yeah, let's give it a try. And I've had a great time. And I appreciate that. And other guys have said, I really don't think I want to compromise on that.
Yeah.
And I listen.
Which I would rather them be honest and say that in the email prior than to say, yeah, let's give it a try. And then we send them an email with a match, like hey, we have a date confirmed.
Yeah, well, we book the date and I send out a bio sheet, which is the first time that you see a photo.
And then they see the photo, and then even if something happens and you cancel, right? It just looks bad, right?
Yeah.
It looks inconsiderate.
Right. So I think that I just want guys to hear that, like, while I am not putting physical attractiveness at the same level of importance as, your values alignment, right? Whether or not you guys want to have kids in the same way or whether you can live in the same place. On the whole, physical attractiveness is more important to men than it is to women with the people that we've talked to. And the body size and conventional attractiveness components affect matchability for women significantly more than they do for men. For context, the things that stick out for matchability for guys are spiritual leadership qualities, right? Emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
Stability as defined by financial stability, like job stability, like does he have, his living situation, those kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
And then I would say there are physical attractiveness components that highly influence women.
Yeah.
The key one is height. And we could talk about why that's overblown sometimes, right?
Sometimes hair.
Less so.
Yeah,
less
so than height. But
height is a bigger deal to women, the women that we've talked to.
Which
on
then
the
we
whole.
work with women too, as well.
Right, we have those conversations.
We have those realistic conversations as well.
I've emailed women and I'm like, hey, I have a guy that I think is great. He's the kind of person you would want to parent your kids. He's shorter than you told me you would want.
Yeah.
Are you cool with that? Right?
Yeah. Attraction's important, but maybe reevaluate how high on the priority scale it should be.
Yeah, I think we've said it before, right? Like if physical attraction, initial attraction were the thing that, was the most important key to success in marriage, then nobody in Hollywood would ever get divorced or have affairs.
Yeah.
And that's not true, right? In fact, I think that part of the reason why the divorce rate is so high, not just in Hollywood, but in general, is because people have overemphasized attraction. And when people's bodies naturally change, because your body's changed due to age. And
by golly, you get married and have freshman 15. It happens.
Sure. I mean,
it happens to almost every couple.
Yeah. Like your body changes. And so I think that people who have put too much emphasis on physical attraction when that happens, which is a normal part of being human, right? Um, their marriage is more fragile.
Yeah.
Because they put so much emphasis on that one thing.
Yep.
Instead of being like, hey, is this the kind of person that I can build a life with, right? So what happens is if you haven't committed to being with someone who is dreaming the same dreams that you are and wants the same things and wants to parent the same way and wants to serve God the same way and you know, brings all kinds of other value to your life, like when that person's body changes, if the only thing that you had going for your relationship was how hot you thought they were,
Yeah.
and they suddenly become less hot, well, then, yeah, you're going to start to notice, man, there wasn't much of a foundation to this connection.
Yeah.
Right. Versus if you insist first on finding someone who meets those deep criteria, who aligns with your values, when things happen or things change or bodies change or whatever, you know, you'll be grounded in, oh no, this person still brings light to my life. This person is still sharpening me. I can weather this temporary shift in how I feel about their body or how they feel about their body.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't want to harp on this because we've talked about this ad nauseum in other episodes, but I want everyone to hear, men and women, I care about matching you with someone that you're going to find attractive. It makes my job a lot easier when two people get into a call and see each other and are like, whoa, you know, that helps. It helps the whole process. It's more comfortable, but it is not the most important thing because sometimes there are awkward first calls where neither person is entirely sold on how the other person looks or exactly what they're like. But after the call and after the conversation and after a few more conversations, it all starts to fall into place. The attraction shows up, and that leads to a great, healthy relationship.
Again, can you repeat what chemistry is?
Chemistry is feeling seen for who you are, authentically for who you are, feeling safe to express yourself, right? To take interpersonal risks, to speak your mind, to be yourself, and feeling mutual curiosity, where you're interested in the other person, you want to know more, and you feel that they're interested and want to know more about you.
Yep.
Seen, safe, and curious. And attraction can help with that, but it is not the end all and be all. We've wandered through a lot of things, but just to kind of recap and help me recalibrate. So we talked about the types of data we gather, how that data goes into like our pipeline process, and how I'm mechanically moving things around to identify matches, right? And again, we're iterating on this again and again as you meet people. So now that might be hard for someone to hear if you're one of our listeners who's a female client who has been waiting in the pipeline for months and you haven't met anyone.
Yeah.
Right. And I just want to acknowledge that's a real challenge because again, we have women who, not for any bad reason, they might have a narrower pool of male prospects available to them because they need someone who can live in a certain area, right? Or they need someone of a specific age or who could step parent or X, Y, and Z thing, right? There might not be as many prospects available to them. And I might not have the right variety of guys yet that's going to have someone in there who's a good fit for them. So some of our ladies are listening to this going, well, how are you going to have a chance to update what I care about or get to know me if I never get to meet that many people?
Yeah. So we do have something to help with that. And that's we have check-in calls.
Yeah. People can book a free check-in with me just to touch base.
It's not extra cost. You can just say, hey, I want to check in and just recalibrate our conversation that we had for a couple months ago.
Right. It gives me a chance to update my info and make sure that it's up to speed, adjust anything that's changed. I had someone come to me recently. It was great. We had a check-in call and she was like, I just want you to know that, I'm now willing to move. Like it was a shift. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. This opens up the pool so much. It increased her matchability so much, not because she was a better or worse fit for anyone. It just meant that there were now people available that weren't available before.
Didn't we have one that happened to them? Like they did a check-in call and said, "Hey, I'm open to moving now," and now, they're married.
Yeah, that did happen. So like, and this is someone that we knew personally. So when I first met with her, she had lost her husband after a long illness. She was like in her late 40s, early 50s, I think, and was living in the home that she had purchased or maybe built with her late husband, right? And it was full of memories. It was really special. Her children lived relatively nearby and her grandkids lived relatively nearby. And so she was really insistent when I first met with her that she couldn't move.
Yeah.
Right. And I understood why, so I didn't have anyone who could relocate, who was the right age and had the right, like other sort of values alignment, who could relocate to her area. So I hadn't been able to introduce her to anyone for a long time. And I met with her for a check-in.
Yeah, her kids ended up moving. So
Yeah, so her kids with the grandkids ended up moving to live in the where her daughter-in-law was from.
Yeah.
And so they had moved to a different state,
Yeah.
like far away. And so I said, hey, I just want to revisit this question of location. Are you still feeling like you really can't relocate? And she said, no, I think I'm open to it now because, this house is still really special to me, but I'm realizing like, I could go somewhere else and the kids are somewhere else. And I was like, oh, amazing. Okay. Well, in that case, let me go back and look and see who I have available with that in mind. And I went back and I took a completely new look at the pipeline and guys who were available. And there was someone that was a great fit for her,
Yep.
but he needed to stay in the state that he was from.
Yep.
So I was able to introduce them and they hit it off immediately and they got engaged and got married.
Yeah.
And it's been fun because I'm now getting to watch them like live life together.
Yeah.
So she was able to move,
and her kids recently had another grandchild, and so he gets to be a grandfather to them. And
yeah, you kind of step into that grandpa
so
role.
it's really, really cool. So
Yeah.
anyways, that lets you know that if you're one of our clients and you haven't had a check-in call in a while, schedule one with us and we'll be happy to re-update or even just to check in and say, hey, can I get an update on what's going on?
Yeah. And I use it as an opportunity, like to, if when I meet with women, especially, I'll say, hey, let me take you through, and everyone who I have right now who's even remotely close, and we'll talk through why they are and aren't a good fit for you. And sometimes things come out of that where it's like, oh, I didn't realize that was an opportunity there. Like, sure, well, let's take a look at it. So all that to say is like, what I want people to hear is that we are doing our best to be as nuanced with this as possible. We want to give people as many opportunities to meet people as we can.
Yeah. And
I will sometimes bring a match to someone that I know is like a 60% match.
Or even 50.
Yeah. I'll be honest about that. I'll say, hey, this person fits several of your key priorities, and there's a few places where they don't align.
Yeah. But I do want to caveat, when we say 50%, we're not saying this person is like 50% a good person. We're saying like the person is 50% in alignment to the to the characteristics that they were looking for.
Usually it's like, hey, you guys can live in the same place.
Yeah.
Right. And you generally want the same things and you're in each other's right age ranges.
Yeah.
But they have a past that you said you'd prefer not to marry someone who has that history.
Or
right?
they might have a child or you know, whatever the situation may be.
So, and I'll be honest about that. So I'll come to that person and say, hey, I have someone who's a really good fit for you because of X, Y, and Z thing, but these are the places where they don't align so cleanly. Are you open to a conversation? And it's okay if
and
they
honestly,
say,
most of the time people are open to it.
It depends. I mean, it depends on where people's feelings are, right? There are some aspects that are harder for people to get around than others.
Oh,
and I have to respect that, right? But I'll have the conversation. So like, I just want people to know if I haven't come to you with a match, it's not because I'm keeping the criteria so rigid that there's just no one for you. It's because I haven't had someone who I thought was a close enough fit to what you were looking for to be worth the time it would take for you to get involved in talking to them.
Yeah. And we also understand, well, one, we haven't forgotten about you either.
Yeah, that's important.
But two, it's an emotional investment.
Mm-hmm.
When we present a match to you, you start getting excited. You start getting, you start looking forward to it.
Especially if you've waited for a long time.
Exactly. And so we're cautious with giving hope.
I'm trying to balance the desire to give people as many opportunities to meet people as possible and maybe open them up to prospects that they wouldn't have considered while not overpromising or overselling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we're more about quality over quantity though. Right.
And I want to say this too. It's not always perfect, right?
Yeah.
I've had people come to me. So we have in our community space, there is a place where people can submit what's called like a match check form.
Yeah.
And what that means is that if they bump into somebody in our virtual community does not function like a dating app. So
No.
it's not really designed for people to be meeting each other for the purposes of dating, but people might come to one of our virtual meetups, or they might
Yeah.
notice somebody posting something and find them interesting. And so I have a place where they can go submit a form and say, hey, does this person align with what I'm looking for? And sometimes one of the reasons why I like that is because they might point out something I didn't realize that they
Yeah.
were interested in, right? Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't realize this person was an option for you
Yeah.
because of X, Y, and Z thing. I didn't realize you were willing to look past that, or that you were okay with moving around that criteria. So there's always room for discussion here. And I want people to feel like they can really speak back to the process,
Yeah.
and people's perspectives change over time. So it's a very fluid thing. This
Yeah.
is why an algorithm does not serve people
Exactly.
effectively. You have to be able to go in and really nuance what people need and what they're looking for.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's say we find them a match.
Mm-hmm.
They then go on a date.
Yeah.
We find them a match. We then put them on a date.
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
So again, if you haven't heard us talk about this, what the date is, it's a virtual call. It's a video call that I join with them to start. And sometimes I don't mean to make anyone feel awkward. I'm gathering data in the call.
Yeah.
Like, as I'm watching the interaction,
Yeah.
right? I'm only there for the first few minutes of the call, and then I leave for the majority of it so that they can talk and have, get to know each other privately. And then I come back at the end to end the call. And when I rejoin the call, the mood in the room, like how people are interacting when I get back in is a really good predictor of whether or not they're going to want to continue talking to each other.
Yeah.
Right. But so what happens is I get back into the call, and we don't make any decisions in the call about what someone wants to do.
Yeah.
So it's not like an episode of The Bachelor where
Do you choose?
right. You don't have to vote anybody off or whatever.
Yeah.
We just, I say, okay, what's going to happen is we're all going to, turn off the computer. We're going to kind of just meditate on this experience, think about any questions that you have. And I invite people to ask me questions after the fact, right? Because sometimes people hang up the call and then later they're like, oh man, I really wish I'd asked about whether or not they're open to moving or whether or not X, Y, and Z thing. And so I'll tell them, hey, I'm going to send you an email tomorrow that has some questions about what you want to do moving forward. Get a response back to me in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, if you have questions that you think I can answer, I'm happy to do so within the boundaries of respecting people's privacy, right? I won't divulge, sensitive information about someone's life that they've shared with me unless they've expressly told me that it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
So, if it's things like, hey, this person mentioned that they have a medical condition. What can you tell me about
medical
that?
Conditions are
Yeah.
there's some people that are saying like it's a big part of who they are and their function in life.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want to blindside someone with their medical condition. So they've
Right.
given us permission to mention it.
Yeah. And it just depends.
But we are very, very diligent about making sure that it's something that you are comfortable with.
Right. That we have permission about.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's things, in that post-date interaction, I'm able to, like, let's say 2 people have matched, right? Sometimes I know something about someone's history that allows me to give a little bit of advice going in. And I never want to be swaying the process. I don't want to try to trick people into liking someone, right? But as an example, so one of our couples are actually getting married this weekend. So with this couple, I could tell in the call, like,
head over heels.
Yeah, they not head over heels, but they enjoyed each other. I could tell.
Well, that's what I mean. Like emotionally, like they were able to connect.
You could tell that the connection was really there. So I was not surprised when they both matched and said they wanted to get to know each other better. But working with her, she had mentioned to me in the consultation that she had had some really challenging experiences in dating in the past where her trust had been broken by guys who were talking to a lot of girls at the same time, right? And this gentleman, I didn't know at that point if he had any other dating prospects on his radar. But I said in my email follow-up to him when they matched, I said, hey, you guys matched. I'm going to put you in contact. listen, my advice to you would be, if you are currently engaged in any other talking interactions, that you would stop those while you talk to her, because it would make her feel more safe.
Yeah.
And I want to give you guys the chance to get to know each other without any of that influence. And he told me, oh, I'm not talking to anyone right now, but thank you for letting me know. Months later, when they were engaged, they had gone back into their emails and had looked at the initial emails they had
Just
gotten
like
from us,
reminiscing.
just reminiscing
Yeah.
about their process. And he read her my email that said, hey, I want to encourage you to end any talking relationship so that you can just focus on her. And it was so sweet. It made me cry. I'm going to cry again thinking about it. She was like, I have never had someone advocate for me
Yeah.
in a dating relationship. And she's like, the fact that you remembered that and you were willing to tell him that so that you can make me feel safe meant so much to me.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. It was such an honor to get to like hear that and just like, appreciate that. That kind of thing made the difference in how she felt and how her level of confidence and
Yeah.
and knowledge that she was with someone who really respected her.
And they're getting married this weekend.
I know. And I'm just so excited for them. They're
Yeah.
beautiful together.
Algorithms can't do that, y'all.
No, an algorithm will not tell your dating prospect, hey, it'd be better if you made sure you did X, Y, and Z thing to make them feel safe.
Yeah.
Right. So we try to take the data that we have, respect everyone's privacy, but also give people an edge so that
they give both people their best foot forward.
Right. Jake in our episode with Jake and Victoria a little while ago talked about that. He had a challenging component from his past.
Yeah.
That was just something that might have made some people uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And some people might have expressed, and not, whatever your mind goes to, it's probably not as bad as what you're thinking, but it was just something that he was aware of.
Yeah, to him, he wanted to make sure
Right.
he was having concerns of like, how fast after talking to her should I tell her this?
Right. And so in my email back to him, I was like, here's my advice, that at the first opportunity, I would express this. I would offer to talk to her parents and pastor if they're curious about it. I would do this, and this.
Yeah, transparency.
Right.
Yeah.
Do not wait, whatever. And he followed my advice, and that served him very, very well. It immediately made their whole relationship feel much more at ease. Everyone in the family was comfortable with that. They had great questions to ask. They got it all out on the table, and then they could just get to know each other outside of that, because it wasn't a blocker for anyone. So those are places where we can step in and use the data that we have to help get couples off on the right foot from the get-go.
Yep.
Not influencing the other person's perception of them, but just removing stumbling blocks that otherwise might trip them up in an early dating experience.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to wrap this up because we've talked about a gajillion things and it's getting really late.
Yep.
Before we wrap up, I do want to talk briefly about something we teased at the beginning about why there are suddenly more guys coming in.
Oh, yeah.
And we will roll this out more formally. We are in the process of reconfiguring our pipeline process, our pricing model to serve women and men individually. Because just like I talked about how women and men have different matchability criteria for what they're looking for in a potential partner, women and men have very different experiences with this process and different expectations. And what we're realizing as we get to meet people is that we can't create a one-size-fits-all process that addresses the pain points that women are experiencing and the pain points that men are experiencing effectively.
Yeah.
Right. So what we're doing right now is, and we're going to be making some pricing changes and updating our website with some changes to make this clear. But we are offering a freemium model for men.
What's a freemium model?
Freemium means that there is basically no risk to getting started with the process.
For men.
For men. And the reason why these are different is because what we're finding, and as we're talking to people, is that the barriers for men to get into the matchmaking process are much higher from the perspective of them being willing to even try it.
Yep.
What we're finding is that men, on average, not every guy, but on average, men are less likely to pay upfront to try matchmaking because they are less confident that the process will serve them.
Yeah.
And it's harder for guys to build trust with this process, right? So to accommodate that, we're offering a freemium model where men can go through the consultation process and meet their first match without paying anything.
Yep.
And, you know, if we're lucky enough that we have those guys come in and the first person they meet is their wife,
Yeah.
then they're riding off into the sunset, and
Yeah.
then that's fine.
Our goal is to help start getting some of our women who have been in the pipeline for a while, hopefully obviously a spouse or a match of some sort. So like we're trying to increase the flow of men coming in, and also the more men that come in and see like how thorough this process is and how enjoyable this process is,
Right.
they're going to one, be convinced, and also tell their friends about it. So we're really trying to do it to increase exposure. We're not
Right.
trying to do it to undercut the women. Like before we even did this, we talked to, we
like
literally
we
had a focus group of all of our clients and said, hey, like, or of a subset of our clients, and basically said, hey, we are about to do this, or we're considering doing this. How does this make you feel about this process? And would you feel undercut if we did this?
Yeah, we got a bunch of feedback about how they would feel about offering this, and the feedback we got basically was like, hey, we want matches.
Yeah,
So,
they're like, hey, we would rather have more opportunity,
right.
so let's do it.
So we're trying this out, and like I said, we'll roll out more formal information about this. But if you have a guy in your life or in your circle, or if you're a guy who's listening to this who's been considering matchmaking but didn't want to pay up front,
Yep.
you can try it out for free.
And this is not going to last forever.
Right. We'll figure out sort of the
Yeah.
framework of it as we go, but we want to try this out and see if it makes a difference. So for right now, send me an email, megan@synchronyproject.com, if you're interested in trying this out, and I can give you the details and get you booking information. But
And also, men, if you have questions, email me at steven@synchronyproject.com.
Stephen with a V.
Yeah, Steven with a V. And I'll be happy to answer questions if it's like a guy-to-guy question.
Yeah, I would love that. So all that being said, we're going to test that out and see how it goes. But as a result, we have seen an influx of some really incredible guys that are trying things out right now. So I do have men who I need to go sit down and match. And I'm excited about that. It's been cool over the last few days the last couple of weeks, really, to start seeing more involvement from guys that we hadn't interacted with before. So I'm feeling very hopeful for some of our longtime female clients.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that these two episodes together, this week and last week, will sort of just demystify the process a little bit and help people understand how we're working in it. But if there's anything about this that you don't understand, you can drop it in a comment. I'd love for this to generate some conversation on YouTube, or you can always reach out to us and we'd be happy to talk more about the specifics of how it might work in your case if you have some unique circumstances.
Yeah.
Couple of announcements really quick.
Let's make them quick.
Yep. So the Cultivate Conference is coming up September 12th and 13th in Pasadena, Texas. You can see the link to register in our description. We're going to be there talking about building relationships,
Woo woo.
doing some extemporaneous podcast interviews. It's going to be a blast. I'm super excited about that. Stephen might escape for a round of disc golf at some point. So yeah, if you're into that,
If you're in Texas and want to play disc golf, let me know.
Right. So keep an eye out for more information about that. That is a Young Adult conference. So if you are in that age range and you're in Texas or a surrounding state and you can get to Pasadena fairly quickly, or the Houston area, check that out and register. We also, coming up on Labor Day weekend, the New England Singles Conference information is down there as well. They're going to have sync pins available for all their attendees. Those have been shipped out. So you can go and get a free sync pin if you'd like to have one of those, so that you can have a wearable item that tells people that you are single and available and interested. More information about that on our website, but also you can go down and register for free for the conference on their Facebook page. The conference doesn't have a cost associated with registering. There are additional costs for food and that kind of stuff.
Also, if you are over a single conference and you would like us to shout it out, there'd be no cost. Just send us an email at megan@synchronyproject.com and we will shout it out for you guys.
Yeah, we want people to attend those conferences.
But
They're really
make sure
important.
to please give us information and details about the conference, so that way we don't have to go and try to look for this stuff.
Yeah, it just makes it easier.
Yep.
Another thing, Singles at Sea.
Singles at Sea.
We're getting ready to do a big cruise push in the next couple of weeks. I'm trying to schedule a time to sit down with Dana, who's our co-chair of the cruise so that we can do a live and answer questions. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for more on that. But registration or booking for the Singles at Sea cruise is live. That is a 3-day cruise to the Bahamas that we are going to be co-hosting in February. So if you live in the cold, snowy north or in the not so cold, balmy south, but just want to get away to the Bahamas with us for a few days
That's
and
right.
have a grand old time laughing and being hilarious and meeting some great new people, you should go register. And you can put down just $200 to reserve a cabin, or $100 a piece if you want to book with a friend who can room with you. And you can call Chelsea or text Chelsea at the number in our description.
Yep.
She is our cruise coordinator and she will help get you set up for that. But the time is coming soon where we're going to have to start sending in our payments for that and making sure that everyone is ready to go. So we're super excited to hang out with people in the Bahamas.
That's right. Hey, babe.
Yeah.
I love you so very much.
I love you too.
And doing this is so much fun. And it's cool to start seeing synchrony babies.
It is cool to see synchrony babies. Thank you for allowing me to be immersed in the nerdy brain candy that this gives me.
That's fine.
I enjoy this so much, and it's so fulfilling to get to learn about people and hear their stories and use that to help find people that are good for them. And I know it requires a lot of you because I have to put a lot of time in to do that, and you make sacrifices so that I can do that. And I'm very grateful.
Absolutely.
Because it enables me to do things like start crying in front of you about synchrony babies. And, and so it's been really fun.
It has.
Okay.
I love you.
Love you too. You guys have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.